right, what's happening, gang? You are live. This is The Secret Stash, baby. My name is Jesse Ibanez. I'll be your host for the next hour. We got some of the coolest local people talking about some cool local things. I would say maybe more the shift, Tara, would be important things, right? So, hey, maybe learn a thing or two today and catch a couple cool stories in the process. Real Talk Radio San Diego, man, we're bringing it right now. And in the studio live today, I got a local phenom. You didn't know that name preceded you, right? Local phenom?
I did not.
T.Burd, you're the owner, proprietor of T.Burd Law Group. I love that. T.Burd. T.Burd, it's like almost like a moniker right out of the gate, right?
I think so.
Is there like a theme song? Like as soon as you say that, it just pops into cue?
I wish.
T.Burd, or something like that? No?
I have been known to make bird noises and flap my wings.
With any luck, we'll be getting some of that live here over the next hour. And more importantly, what we're going to be covering today, and the reason why we got Tara in the house is that there is a topic right now which is flying around all of my circles, at least I'll say, forest from the trees, race from the runners, perhaps. Helping get folks into and out of homes is our game. And this concept of, do you have an estate plan or are you stuck to go through probate and all of the things therein? And that's just the actual tip of the iceberg that Tara does over at T.Burd Law Group. We're going to talk about civil litigation. We're going to talk about the importance of having an estate plan with all the things therein. So like what? POAs, healthcare directives, all that stuff. And believe it or not, we're going to get into some contract issues that people don't think of as well. So all that coming up. But before we get any further, Tara, please introduce yourself to your fans.
Tara Byrd. I am an attorney and the owner and founder of T.Burd Law Group. Even though I am a solo, I do work with a lot of other attorneys in various capacities. We contract, we co-counsel, and this allows me to expand or contract my practice as needed based on the types of cases. So I can take bigger cases because I can partner with other attorneys, or I can handle things one-on-one. It's really important to me to, be the source of contact for my clients.
Now, extrapolate that a little bit for us lay people. When you say you contract, you can co-counsel, like why would that be a benefit to your potential client?
Well, my overhead is low, but if I have a client that has needs, I can just bring someone on. If they contract, then they are under me. They're a lower rate. And if I co-counsel, I can just, partner up with someone else. But that way we can split the work as it fits the client instead of just, throwing work at some associates.
And you can see that sometimes played out, or at least I know in my experience, like whenever there's a highfalutin legal counsel assembled, like they get like multiple dudes lined up, right? That's the idea of a co-counsel. Everybody kind of has their own specialty, perhaps, maybe. Right.
We split the work. If I have a probate type litigation, we might have a probate attorney involved, and then I might do the litigation work. Or if we have a real estate issue, I might bring in my friend who focuses on real estate all the time. And that way I have someone else to go and ask those hard questions to.
And I got some hard questions for that friend too. So you might want to introduce us. I'm excited to get a real estate panel going in here in the law capacity. Now, specific to this domain though, right? The concept of having an estate plan or defaulting to probate, like what can you tell us about that?
Well, probate is basically where your estate goes if you do not have a trust. And a trust is like a whole new legal body that's created by this contract. So a will doesn't do anything for you other than to distribute your assets to people and tell you, the court where you want your kids to go.
Right. Most people think that's enough, right?
Right. But it doesn't actually do very much.
Because why? I mean, without getting too far down into the well, like why wouldn't that just work by itself?
I'm sure it goes back to some history of how the laws were made, but it just doesn't. It doesn't create the separate entity. The trust creates a new entity, and it removes your assets out of the probate process. So without that trust, your house is still going to probate. And the big difference here is that attorney's fees in a probate are set by statute.
Right.
Much higher.
And they're a grip, right?
Yes.
Like what's the absolute minimum that you can't even get out of? Like what, there's it's a scale, right? Based on how much the estate is kind of worth,
Yes.
right? What's the absolute minimum?
I don't know the minimum because it is a scale, but let's say you have a $300,000 home. That's about $9,000 in attorney's fees.
Damn. Yeah. And you think about, I mean, it's not an exact science to be able to compare and contrast this, but I mean, you go to set up an estate, and what's that cost you? Like an estate plan?
For an individual, $1,500.
Right. Yeah. Should be a little button over here called no brainer, right?
And then it's that same percentage that goes to attorneys goes to the executor. So that'd be another $9,000. So that's $18,000 out the door.
Yeah. And, what's funny about this conversation, actually, that's irresponsible for me to call it funny. What's sad about this conversation is that a lot of people don't understand that they're in one of these two buckets. If you own anything at all, even a car for that matter, you're in one of these two buckets, whether you'd like to admit it or not. I think some people tend to think, oh, that's just for rich people. Like, oh, yeah, right. All I got is a house, or, no big deal. I got a will set up. Not true. If you die unexpectedly before you can take care of your affairs, right? Then this is what happens to you. And yeah, you're if you're lucky, the probate process will still give it to your kid or your heirs or whatever, but a lot less of the pie once they're done with it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's get into this a little bit. So if you were to maybe do a column on either side, one side you got probate, the other side you got estate plan. Let's kind of hash through this a little bit. So I think we got the 30,000-foot view, but now with the expert in the room now, let's get a little bit deeper. So where would you start off with like comparing and contrasting those two categories?
Well, probate is, after you die. And so the court basically makes all the decisions for you. Now, if you have a will, then they're going to look towards your will, and that will dictate a lot of it. But you're still going through the legal process. You still need the court to approve even the sale of your house.
So the will still actually has some teeth.
Yes.
It just has to still go through probate for them to follow the wishes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Trip out. Okay.
Has to be approved, and that's assuming that your will is to proper form.
Right. Which is a whole nother rabbit hole right there.
Right. Otherwise, it goes out the window in itself.
Yeah, so if you just got a little Word document that you printed up on your computer one night, while watching soaps, it's probably not formatted the way that the court will recognize.
Correct.
Yeah. I'm sure there's online entities and stuff you could probably go to at least get a basic template, right?
Right, but if someone comes to me and says, "Oh, I just want a will," but they got a property, I'm not giving them just a will. It's practically malpractice.
Yeah, right. It's crazy. You would be ashamed to even take that remuneration, whatever.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, whatever. Right, exactly. You'd be ashamed to.
Yeah.
Good. So what else? So okay, good. You have to die. So what else? What else would be on those two columns?
Well, probate aside, the other advantage to an estate plan is when you're living. And so that doesn't even, deal with probate. It's just the things that happen when you're incapacitated. You're not dead. You were in a car accident. You were injured. You're sick. And you just can't take care of your affairs.
That's kind of what we're going to get into in the next segment, too. So there's elements of the estate plan which can actually help you direct your wishes while you're still here.
Correct.
Yeah. No one likes to talk about death.
I know, but it's not about dying. It's about living. It's about protecting the people that are still there and taking care of your family. And that's why it's important. It's not about when you go. It's about everyone else who's still here.
Tara, I think that was a proper setup, if I don't say so myself. I mean, we intentionally kind of dodged a couple things because I wanted to tease it out. We're going to get into some stuff right now. So, Tara, what would you say? Are you a lover or a fighter? Like, each lawyer likes to have their own specialty. Like, do you like getting in there and brawling it out for, actually get into the litigation element, or are you more of a lover? You like to...
Well, I start off as a lover until you piss me off. And then the switch flips and then it's over.
I love it. Well, hey, speaking of flipping the switch, Tara Burt, T.Burd Law Group, we're breaking it down today. And coming up, we're going to talk about the importance of estate planning for all ages. We're going to get into the weeds of POAs and healthcare directives. Real Talk Radio, baby. You're in the secret stash. I'm your host, Jesse Ibanez, and we'll be right back.
Hi, Hi, it's Courtney with 5-Star Escrow. If you provide 5-star service, your escrow company should too. When you need fast, friendly, and accurate service, think 5-Star Escrow. We're the escrow company of choice for the Friends of Real Talk San Diego, and we're committed to delivering a first-class experience when you need it most, at closing. Why settle for less? 5-Star Escrow, getting your transactions closed and getting you paid on time. Visit us at 5starescrow.com. That's 5starescrow.com.
All right, you are back live in the Secret Stash, promising to grab some cool local people and talk about some cool local stuff, and hopefully inspiring a little action and some impetus that perhaps wasn't there before. That's what Real Talk Radio San Diego is all about. And in the house today, we got T.Burd. She's the owner of T.Burd Law Group here in town. She specializes, all kinds of stuff. But, what I wanted to kind of get into today was the concept of estate planning. And, we last segment talked about how it's juxtaposed from like probate, and basically why people all the time seem to come to us when they're usually on the other side of that. Unfortunately, it's too late and they need to sell the home that mom and dad had or whatever. And they're like, yeah, come on. And then they don't realize what's waiting for them after that phone call is me being the negative Nancy to be like, hey, man, I got to actually get you in touch with somebody right now because the big P word's coming up, probate. So thank you for kind of fleshing that a little bit, Tara. But let's start now getting into this concept. Like you kind of hit on the fact that the estate plan can actually help you when you're still alive, which is a critical element, right?
Right.
So a little bit further into that right now. So when we talk about the importance of estate plan and then the element of age kind of plays into it, right? It's a little bit different than how people think about it typically. They just think it's that thing waiting for you over at the end of everything, right?
Right.
So expound on that a little bit for us.
Well, there's a few documents that go into all my estate plans that are ideal for everyone of all ages. The power of attorney.
Right.
That relates to your money, pays your bills. Then there's the healthcare directive.
And if I might please, this is something too. So what is a durable power of attorney versus just like a power of attorney?
It's some legal nuance that I don't even know.
Well, here's what's interesting about it, though. This is the reason why I bring it up, is that there's been a couple situations before in my practice where the family thought they had a POA. And they started doing the paperwork, and then the powers that be say, no, this isn't a good enough POA. You need to go get a durable power of attorney in order to do a real estate transaction.
Well, it has to do with the powers that you give away. So I create a really comprehensive one. There's various statutory forms or whatever. So you can decide which powers individuals have. So you might go to a realtor and give them a small piece of your power of attorney that says you can do this with my home. The ones I create, I could also do that, but these are far more comprehensive where we say you can pay my bills, you can make investments for me, you can sell my property, you can gift parts of my estate. And these are all different options that people have.
Got it. Okay, so please, thank you for that. So continue.
So then there's the power of attorney. There's the healthcare directive, which is, some people consider that the same document, but I do it in two. And that says, who do you want to make the decisions for your healthcare? Who do you want to decide whether drugs are administered to you? This is the situation where you're incapacitated. You're in a hospital. You're sick. Maybe you're just woozy, you're there, you're alive, but you're out of it at whatever level. You can't make a decision.
Highly drugged.
Yes.
Like basically Adrian most of the day, right?
Well, so here's an example. I got a call from a mother who must have been in her 70s. Her daughter was in her 50s, 40s, 50s, and then she had a daughter who was in her 20s. And this woman was in a serious car accident, and she was in a coma for weeks, came out of it. And the doctors declared her competent. They said she could make her own decisions.
Oh, so the doctors actually have that power?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And so they said you can make your own decisions, but she was so out of it. She could talk to you, but I mean, really critical thinking when you're in slings and you're bandaged up, that's a whole different thing. And so since she was declared competent, Mom called me and said, we need to take care of this just in case something else happens. I need the power to make decisions. So we went in there and we got her to sign everything. And she had a great personality. That's something that I have to check. I have to make sure that they are competent according to me as well.
Wow. So there's actually a level of responsibility you have in that conversation as well.
Oh, yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
That's so. Is there like a battery of tests? Kind of. I'm just thinking out loud. Like, I was watching the NBA playoffs last night, and the one guy, the star Steph Curry, jumped up to block a shot, landed on his head, and in order for him to continue, they had to take him back in the back and do a battery of tests to make sure he didn't have a concussion. Mm-hmm. So there's like a standard protocol for that. It's kind of similar to how it worked. Like, you're in the hospital and you're like, okay, here's my battery of tests.
No, it's just a conversation. I want to know that they know who I am, why I'm there, why they're making the decisions. And if you have an overbearing individual in the room, sometimes you need to ask them to leave.
I can imagine that.
Yeah. Or stop talking.
Someone tried to answer for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, cool. And you brought up that the POA, the power of attorney, can sometimes account for the health care directives, but you break them up into two separate documents. Why is that?
One is about your health and one is about your money. And I find that there's people in your lives that are good at one and not the other. Someone might want to make a decision about my health care. Someone who knows my beliefs and my needs might not be the best person to manage my financial decisions and pay my bills.
Interesting. So knowing almost, it's like a skill set kind of thing, right? So
right.
So a good estate plan would have different people playing different roles.
Right. If there are different people in your life. And, another big one, a lot of people are not married anymore, or they have, all sorts of different relationship arrangements. And if you don't get these powers of attorney, the healthcare directive and the HIPAA waivers, which is the medical release, your loved one may not be able to come and get medical information about you if you're in the hospital. So, if you're married, it's a lot easier sometimes, but that's not the case often.
Mm-hmm. What do you think the biggest misconception about this little bucket that we're kind of in right now? Like, if you had one lesson that you had to share with somebody that would help kind of move them a little further along in their understanding and their general familiarity with like coming up with an estate plan and why you need it, what comes up for you first?
That people are not invincible. Everyone thinks it's not me, I'll be okay, I don't need it, which is true until you do. We're planning for the what ifs. And it's not something to be afraid of. It's not depressing. It's just planning. And it's better to do it when you're healthy and you think that it's funny than when you're sick and it's serious.
What happens when somebody comes to you and they don't have like the resources to do this? Like, I know in the legal capacity, we've all been familiarized with the term pro bono. I think I just recently learned low bono, like very recently at the break. So like, how does that work for somebody? Like, are there resources available to people who can't afford?
There are. We give discounts. If not me, I know other people. Like I said, I have a network of attorneys that sometimes I refer to someone else who might be willing to do the work for less. My prices are pretty middle range, so there's people that charge a lot more, so I am more accessible.
Okay.
And I try and remind them of the downside if they don't do it, because a lot of people say, I can't afford it, quote unquote, when really they mean, I don't want to pay for that. So I try and vet who doesn't want to pay versus who can't pay. And I do payment plans, if necessary as well.
Yeah, because you had mentioned that, like, I think, setting up a basic one's like $1,500 or something. Probate, you're starting at like $9,000 for a $300,000 house, right? And
yes.
then it goes up from there.
Plus fees. A filing fee in our probate right now is $465, and that's just the court fee.
Yeah. So if someone's listening to this message for the first time, right, and they're kind of doing the calculus in the back of their head, they're saying to themselves, I wonder, if this is something I need, right? What would you say? How far does that bar go down? Like, at what point in life do you need to go sit down with someone like yourself and come up with an estate plan?
If you own a property, you have to do it. There's no questions. If you have kids, you have to do it. And then anyone else who just really cares about their future and what happens to them should do it. But kids and a house are the top two.
So if you have an asset that's worth money, and then if you have people who basically rely on you, like dependents, those are the two people who need a estate plan, bar none.
Yeah. If an individual, myself, 30, came to me and said, hey, I just want a piece of it, I might be willing to do that. No assets, no home, no children, but maybe just wants the healthcare directive and the power of attorney, someone to take care of things.
Yeah.
That I would do.
And the concept of a flat fee, I think, is intriguing too, because I don't know how true this is, but sometimes people have a fear about lawyers where they just think that every meeting is going to cost them $500 and that they just want to talk into perpetuity, and then the bills just add up and they prolong it out. So I noticed that you actually offer flat fee services for stuff like this.
Yes, so I wouldn't do it for any estate plan. We're talking about probate avoidance. You have a property, maybe 2 properties, married, that makes it $2,000 if there's 2 of you, but we're talking 1 trust, fairly simple. We do have to draw a line somewhere, but people do find it far more accessible because a lot of people are afraid of exactly what you discussed.
Right, and rightfully so. I mean, I have personal friends, and I don't know why, but it seems like it's especially true in the divorce arena.
Yes. Yes.
Where they've gone through it, and it doesn't take long. Let's say even like halfway through the process, you hear the same type of dialogue and rhetoric where they're just saying like, man, I hate this process already. I feel like they're over there conspiring against us to draw this thing out so that they make more money.
Yes. Anyone who comes to me after having a divorce seems to hate attorneys even more, and they hate the whole process. I mean, divorce is emotional. There's a reason I don't touch that, but it makes sense that they come away with it feeling icky. But it doesn't have to be that way, and I try and remind them that this is a pleasant experience. Maybe it's not a pleasant experience if they're being sued, but, it can be different. We can work things out amicably.
Yeah, and I love that thought too. And we all have heard about the Terry Schiavo case or whatever in Florida. It was a while back now, but these basic things. And by the way, give us a primer in case that's too old for people's reference.
So the brief background is that she was in a car accident and she did not have an estate plan, and her husband wanted to do one act. I believe he wanted to pull the plug on her.
I remember it was super controversial.
Yeah, and her
because
parents
he said
did
that
not.
Those were her wishes.
Correct.
He was claiming that they had talked about it like pillow talk kind of.
Correct.
Right.
He said that's what she wanted. Her parents said that's not what she wants. And so it dragged out in court for 15 years.
Oh, my God.
And she never woke up, by the way.
She never did.
No, they eventually pulled the plug.
They did. God, that's tragic. T.Burd Law Group. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And that's why we got you in the house. Tara Burt, listen, and by the way, for this conversation to live and breathe in its own capacity, a.k.a. for you also to be able to have an opportunity to get a hold of Tara, go to tbirdlawgroup.com, and you're all over the social media sphere. I got you at T.Burd Law Group. I think that's your Twitter handle. Facebook, T.Burd Law Group again, so you got some continuity there. And if you want to call her directly, 858-215-2873. I'll give you that number one more time. It's 858-215-2873. Coming up, we're going to talk about civil litigation with some very good common examples. That's what you got the stash for, baby. Real Talk Radio San Diego. We'll be right back.
Hi, it's Courtney with 5-Star Escrow. If you provide 5-star service, your escrow company should too. When you need fast, friendly, and accurate service, think 5-Star Escrow. We're the escrow company of choice for the Friends of Real Talk San Diego, and we're committed to delivering a first-class experience when you need it most, at closing. Why settle for less? 5-Star Escrow, getting your transactions closed and getting you paid on time. Visit us at 5starescrow.com. That's 5starescrow.com.
All right, gang, what's happening? You are back live in the Secret Stash. We got you all caught up now with your sports update at the midpoint of the hour, and now we're back live in the studio with Tara Burt, owner of T.Burd Law Group. Tara, what's happening, girl? Are you feeling good about this?
I feel good.
We're rolling now. We're all lathered up. We got like we got the framework of the probate versus the estate plan, which is kind of really your bread and butter. Even got into the weeds a little bit, talking about how, first of all, the estate plan is for all ages. The POA, how you separate that from a healthcare directive, and why. We even got into Terry Schiavo. You didn't know that, did you? Name dropping here on the stash. That's what we got. Real Talk Radio. And so. Tara, this concept of, like one person having a feud with another person could probably go back to the beginning of time. They say prostitution is the earliest, the earliest job ever, right?
I have no idea.
Economy ever. But I would say if that's the case, this is probably second, right, to it, right? I mean, come on, the concept of two people feuding about this and some structure therein. So give me some examples here. We were before the break kind of framing up, civil litigation, some common examples and whatnot. So lay down some good stories for us. What you got, Tara?
So litigation is, the process where one person takes another person to court. And it happens over a variety of reasons. Everyone wants to go to court. Some people want to go to court over everything, I should say. So one of my more interesting cases was...
Oh, good. We're going to get into it. Okay, good.
A lawsuit over a purse.
Oh, get out of here.
Literally, when I would go into the courtroom, the judges would say, a purse? I mean, there was this awkward moment of silence because it went all the way to trial over a purse. But it wasn't just any purse. It was an $80,000+, and I can't even pronounce this, Hermès Birkin, crocodile skin bag. And my client owned it, and she was selling it to someone else. And so, they put a contract together, and a few payments were made, and then they stopped. So then they put another contract together, no attorneys. And then the payment stopped. And so my client received a lot of money, but not all the money. And so she sold the purse off to someone else. And the person who paid all that money didn't get it.
Oh, I see. So she never actually gave her, like, for example, I'm thinking like if you get a car, like you get the car and then you pay the payments off slowly. Like she was waiting for the money to come in before actually handing over the purse. Got it.
And just like a car gets repoed, even though you put in money, or a house, you put in money, you lose the house, you lose the car.
Right.
She lost the purse.
But she never even got to enjoy the purse, though.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even like a lease. She just didn't get it.
Right.
So she sued over it. And
come on, man.
She had paid, I can't remember the numbers, but she had paid, say, $30,000 maybe. They were selling the bag for like half its value.
That is gnarly. So she'd paid $30,000 into an $80,000 purse, never even got to take it out on the town.
Nope, ever, because then it was sold off. So she couldn't even if she won, that purse was gone. And these are, one of a kind purses. They come with like, satchel. The purse has its own little bag. And
dude, what is wrong with us, for starters? Like, did you have to like wake up, like you're getting ready in the mirror, like you're doing your hair, your makeup, and you think to yourself, am I really going to go to trial right now over an $80,000 alligator purse? First of all, that's wrong. Okay, I want to get a op-ed over here, but that just is wrong. Second of all, the fact that someone was willing to pay $30,000 for that $80,000 purse privately, not even this is all kinds of wrong right now.
Oh yeah, and I learned that Hermès spas, S-P-A, like you go to a spa and get your nails done, or a massage, they spa their bags.
Oh, come on right now.
I know. It's amazing.
I always say we got cool local peeps talking about cool local stuff, but I wasn't prepared to go down into the bowels this deep today. Are you kidding me? They like steam the bag or something?
I don't know what they do.
That's incredible.
It's beyond me, but they do something, and that's what my clients wanted to do to authenticate it, because Hermès will not authenticate. They won't say, oh yeah, that's real, that's not real. But they also won't give the spa treatment to, a fake bag. So if they do the treatment, it's like, oh, that means that it must be real.
Oh my God, this is so good. So how did this end now? I'm like on the edge of my seat.
It was a judge bench trial, and we were defense.
What does that mean? A bench trial?
There was no jurors.
No jury.
It was just we were arguing the law to the judge. We got the best case scenario for my client, better than what we thought was the best case, in fact.
So what would that look like?
She had to pay back a small portion.
Okay, so she got 30 G's, but she had to give back a little bit.
Yeah.
Trip out.
And it all came down to the way the contract was drafted and the agreement between the two parties.
How did they come up with that contract? Did it ever get that? Like, where did they find the template to follow?
I have no idea. They may have seen an attorney, but then a lot of people start that way, and then they, interlineate, they cross things out, they write things in. They don't complete what they say they're going to complete. I mean, that's how it all started, right? So then they go and they put together their own addendums, and then everything will sort of fall apart after that. People will email, and which email is a contract, but
Sure.
it's not as clear.
Right. Even verbal is a contract. It's just really hard to hold that up. You know?
I mean, we had emails, text messages, trying to get phone calls in there, and it all came apart to a few grand that we had to return. But
Tara Burt, T.Burd Law Group. And by the way, check her out, tbirdlawgroup.com. Give me some more. This is good. Any more stories come up?
Well, another favorite, and I have to be careful what I say here, but I represented one of my favorite clients. He is a New York communications guy. And
what does that mean? Like he's on a personality or something? Like he's on TV?
No, he has they called him like a communications mogul or something because he has like a company that does phones and stuff.
Okay, fair enough.
So he was jilted at the altar, shortly before his wedding. His ex-fiance comes back to San Diego where she's dating another attorney who I hope isn't listening, but so what if he is? And he helps her. So this whole thing goes viral.
So she cheated on him, basically? I mean, she found another dude, and so she left him.
She leaves him.
Okay.
The story goes viral for some unknown reason all over the internet. And people start commenting negative comments about her because she also cleared out the bank account, took the ring, and he was the big earner. So when she took 50% of the bank account, their joint account, he said, no, that money is mine. So it goes viral, and so then she sues him in California.
But you can't use the fact that it's gone viral in the court case, can you?
Well, she blamed those negative messages on him and his family members and sues him in California for defamation.
You gotta be kidding me.
So then that's when I come in.
So you can't use it as to support your case, but it could actually be used against you in a defamation case.
Right. Which I don't know, the legal strength of her argument was probably very weak.
How would you tie it back? I mean, unless the post started on his Facebook wall or
which
something.
They didn't. Right.
Which they didn't. Even if they did, God, I don't even know how you would.
Oh, they were pulling IP information off the servers, subpoenaing Facebook, subpoenaing other various online organizations, trying to figure out where these messages originated.
Yeah.
And so because it was she was representing herself pro per.
Yeah.
Representing herself.
That's kind of baller.
Well, but really, her new fiance, because she got reengaged,
it was a lawyer.
Was an attorney.
Aha.
He did most of the work.
So she had the microphone in her ear, here's what you say next.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And they just brutalized. They sued his entire family, hit us with discovery nonstop. Every day I got new stacks of documents. I mean, we had so much motion work to try to get through the courts, and it was the most ridiculous lawsuit maybe ever. So a few months later, it resolves when a local TV show or TV network comes to them and they offer them a deal for filming a pilot.
Around this case?
Around the case.
So word got out, went viral. Some TV station, Jack, basically came back around and was like, so how did that settle the case, though?
That was part of the agreement. Their contract with the network became part of their settlement agreement. We're going to go do this.
Because they're going to pay him?
Yes, maybe.
Right, okay.
I can't disclose that.
Right.
They may or may not have gotten money through it, but a winner was announced. So, I mean, obviously the terms were agreeable to both parties.
So you said pilot, which means what? That didn't make it out of the...
My understanding was that they spent $1 million on this because they flew to New York, they filmed him, so there's a lot involved, but ultimately it has not been on TV that
We didn't see it.
No,
live.
and it would have been like a primetime show, a reality TV show, yeah.
Shut it.
Yeah.
That's crazy talk.
It was very interesting. It was fun to watch. I went and I watched it happen. They hired famous attorneys. It was cool.
I don't even know how we top that.
I don't know that I can top that.
That's a purse, an Hermes. I don't even know how to say it either.
I don't know, yeah.
Purse, and then two people on the jilted altar that ends up basically manifesting into a TV pilot.
Yeah, and it was weird because that was one of my first of many bad relationship. I don't even practice family law. And I seem to get a slew of bad relationship cases.
Do you think it's something you're attracting, Tara?
It might be.
Yeah. Do we need to have a whole fourth segment just about that?
We might.
The universe. You're putting it out to the universe, and that's what you're getting.
I might need some therapy.
Chances are, if you're listening right now in your car or at work right now, and, hey, someone stole your Hermes bag, or maybe you're about ready to get jilted at the altar and you want to protect yourself, T.Burd Law Group, baby. You can catch her, of course, at tbirdlawgroup.com. Not true, because the listeners are of a much higher class here at ESPN Radio, and you're probably going to call her about getting an estate plan, right? Or maybe healthcare directive, or getting a POA together. And coming up, I think this concept has one last leg to it, and we're going to talk about contract issues that people don't think of. Unmarried couples, similar to spousal support. Doesn't that stuff sound familiar?
Yep.
It sure does to you, Tara, and that's why you're going to share that with us right after the break. You're in the stash, baby. Real Talk Radio San Diego. We'll be right back.
Hi, it's Courtney with 5-Star Escrow. If you provide 5-star service, your escrow company should too. When you need fast, friendly, and accurate service, think 5-Star Escrow. We're the escrow company of choice for the Friends of Real Talk San Diego, and we're committed to delivering a first-class experience when you need it most, at closing. Why settle for less? 5-Star Escrow, getting your transactions closed and getting you paid on time. Visit us at 5starescrow.com. That's 5starescrow.com.
What's happening, gang? You are live back on the stash. Hey, Steve, they don't even know that's you actually on the drum kit right now. Like you're like the engineer extraordinaire. That's him on the kick drum back there. So he's like doing the dials, laying it down. Yeah? No? Okay, well, we can still live that dream. Hey, listen, this is the stash, which means we got some cool local peeps talking about some cool local stuff. Tara, you've been killing it. You've been ripping it up. Talking all about what? Hermes bags, TV pilots, bad relationships, right? You need your own theme song, girl. Every time someone walks in the door for a consultation, that thing just kicks right on.
That would be awesome.
Right? We're going to work on that for you. And if you can help us, there's one last thing I got on my docket today. I want to see if we can get past. This is a concept that I had never even heard of until recently. It's called Marvin Actions. Now, tell your fans why this is a very important concept that they need to know about if they're in a relationship and they might not be married yet.
So it's called the Marvin Action. It's based on case law, Marvin v. Marvin. And it has to do with this concept that people live together. He sued himself? Well, an ex suing an ex. It has to do with this concept that a lot of people don't get married sometimes.
Which is a popular concept right now.
Incredibly popular right now. But they do things like get joint bank accounts and buy homes together and have kids together.
Crazy peoples. And
they live their lives. And of course, nobody puts this in writing because they're in love.
Oh my God, it's a buzzkill.
Super buzzkill. Yeah. But that would be the smart thing to do.
That'd be like getting ready to go to the altar and asking for a prenup.
Right, which, in fact, a contract would be more enforceable than a prenup. So anyway, they do all these things together, and then the more powerful of the two, usually the breadwinner, might walk away from the situation and take that house and take that car and take everything he earned and leave. Or she. And
girls be coming up, yo, okay? Girls be coming up.
Absolutely.
All right.
And leave the other partner in the dust.
Right.
And in family court, if they were married, then they'd have spousal support. That's the whole point of it.
Right. Alimony, palimony.
Yep. But if you weren't married, you don't have that remedy. So instead, you have a Marvin Action. And one of my cases, my client got sued. She was the breadwinner. Yep. She had the home. This guy came and lived with her 6 months out of the year.
Deadbeat.
Off and on. And he was suing her for things like building a dog run.
Oh, I see. So he was like grabbing at like important straws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted some of the house. Anything he did around the house, he thought that he should be paid back for.
Which makes total sense, right?
Well, he was outside of statute of limitations, so he waited too long. And you know what he waited for? For her to be happy again.
Interesting.
Yeah. the
Only
minute
to drive
she
her
moves
right
on.
back down.
Yep.
Yeah. So you brought up a good thing about statute of limitations, but that might be the parcel to the part. What the part thing for me is there a minimum amount of years that the court likes to recognize that the relationship was in?
There's no minimum, but the longer the better. Also, children. So we're not talking about you were in a relationship for a year or two. We're talking about a situation, and when you were in a long-term relationships, a lot of same-sex couples might be in this type of situation. Where they are sharing everything. You're sharing bank accounts. You're sharing home. You're basically acting like you're together forever.
Right.
But then you're not.
Right. So there's no preset. So like I've heard it kind of thrown around loosely that like, oh, well, if you're together for 7 years or something like that, like then all of a sudden you get access to all these rights or something.
No, that was common law marriage, and that doesn't exist in California. But this sort of creates that type of situation where you could have rights. Think of the situation of where one person, a lot of times the wife, stays home to take care of the kids, or maybe works less, supports the husband's career.
Right.
That's super common. He goes on to earn more money, and now she's left. Well, she is probably entitled to something because she contributed to that earning and to the home.
Anybody who has kids knows that is a thankless job to go and just be like I don't know, most of the people that I know who maybe are in my generation, they would rather go to work,
Right.
and make a contribution that way, not because they don't love their kids, but just that's a really hard job, and you don't get the same like juju out of it. It's just like you're exhausted at the end of the day. You're not like, oh, I helped a family, do some cool thing, and you get like that. Like you might be lucky if the kid didn't like throw banana in your face. Like maybe that's the victory for the day. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's only fair. I love that. So how long ago did that court case take place?
Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe 10 years or so. But
okay.
It's fairly recent in, our time. Maybe it was the 80s actually. But still, as far as court cases and court law goes, that's still fairly recent. And so there's not a whole lot. But again, I keep getting bad relationship cases. And so I get a surprising number. And I have one of these right now. Same thing, long-term relationship. They've been together 18 years. We filed the complaint, so I can tell you that.
Yeah.
18 years, 4 children. They bought a house together. And, a house is such a big asset that anytime you have a property involved for any type of lawsuits, which I know you have coming up in your next hour, it makes a huge impact on the case.
So, by the way, I'm going to call you out because it's a little disingenuous to hear you complain about the fact that you get bad relationships. I think that's kind of the game that you're in. Like you get into the. By the way, you guys missed it earlier. She said that she's a lover until you piss her off, and then she's a fighter, which means she'll go in and do the dukes for you at the litigation. I love that about you, Tara. So, did you write an article about this? My producer Adrian was telling me that he caught something that went viral for you about that.
I did. I titled it like "Suing Your Ex-Boyfriend," and so of course people started messaging me. They were angry about why it was suing, the ex-boyfriend, why it wasn't about the ex-girlfriend. So now I need to come up with something that men can do to their girlfriends to make them feel better.
Keep it fair. Hey, keep it fair. Keep it fair.
I'm trying. I'm open to ideas.
Yeah. By the way, you can catch that article, which seemed to be a crowd favorite, over at her blog. You can catch it at tbirdlawgroup.com, but you also put it on your Facebook page, right?
Facebook, LinkedIn.
Which is also T.Burd Law Group.
T.Burd Law Group.
Yep. And Twitter handle as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Instagram, Snapchat.
Google my name and everything about me will come up. And then like a T.Burd in New Jersey might have a photo up there. So. And
we're working on the song that's going to play.
I can't wait.
Every time you go to her website and you click it on, or something like that, right?
That's really good Burt, actually.
Yeah, I'm gonna get together with you on that offline. We're gonna come up with something really good. Tara, listen, this has been great. I appreciate it. If you want to know more about coming up with your own state, and that's not your only bag, too, right? That's just what we played out today, because that's something obviously that comes up a lot in my business, helping folks get into and out of homes. But what else do you specialize in?
I like a good case. So anytime people have problems,
Sounds like you like a good head case.
Oh, sometimes maybe. But anytime you have an issue, a lot of times when it's couched in a contract issue, you have an agreement with somebody.
Right.
Whether it's
someone's
written,
not upholding it.
It's oral, and somebody's not upholding it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be a business. You can be a business.
Yeah.
But I like to call them individuals with business concerns. You loaned your brother-in-law money and he didn't pay you back. you and your best friend want to go into business together and then you have a falling out.
Imagine that.
These are business concerns. You have a problem and you need a remedy. And I make sure to work with my clients, their budget, their true goals that may be going all the way through a litigation and that may be just trying to resolve it as efficiently as possible.
Yeah.
And we keep that open relationship so that it doesn't have to be the scary bill months down the road.
I like that. Maybe Steve can take us out with remedy. I need a remedy. Yeah, hey, maybe that's the backbone. No, Steve's got it live here. You got your drum set on, Steve? Let's do this. Let's take it out. T.BurdLawGroup.com. And by the way, call her directly anytime, 858-215-2873. Again, that number is 858-215-2873. Tara, thank you so much for coming in, girl.
Thank you.
I appreciate your contribution to the conversation. And that's why you're in the stash, baby. Hopefully we left you a little bit better than how we found you on Real Talk Radio San Diego. Coming up, right back into the weeds with some more good stories from my man Robert. So stick around. We'll be right back.